Hey, I'm Robbie, and this is the Race Report. Hey, welcome to this month's show. We just got done wrapping up the February races. Really great time racing your cars this month. Super competitive. I had quite a really good competition this month. We were up in cars. Last month we raced about 120 cars. This month we were up a little over 180 cars, I guess. It was fun to welcome back a few guys from 2019 that have been racing with us for a while, and they were absent in January, but back with us in February 2020, so that was fun. And I just had a really good time. The races were really good, and I can't wait to talk about them. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, hey, before we get right into those races, I got a couple of things I wanted to just talk about, let you know. A few of you have been trying to get a hold of me, communicate with me a little bit, and so I just thought maybe I'd talk about the best way to do that. It's probably through Facebook. Either message me through the Facebook group or the Facebook page. Either one of those. I generally check Facebook at least every night, and so I can get back with you really quickly that way. You can also email me. You can email me at d64racing@gmail.com. I have to admit, I'm not as good at checking my emails consistently. I'm trying to get better at that, and so I'll continue to try to check those and get with you. If you're not on social media, if you're not on Facebook, then hit me up that route. But really, like I say, if you can message me through Facebook, I'm really good at answering back, at least daily. So, and like I said, I try to check that daily. So that might be a good way to get a hold of me if you have any questions, or you just want to let me know cars are on the way or whatever. That's a good way to do it. So team logos. So at the start of this season, a little bit before this season, I kind of threw that out there. If you have a logo and you want to use it, send it to me. So about halfway through the year last year, I updated my race software, and it has a new feature where I can use a logo, a team logo, in the software, and it'll show up during the races and everything. And I thought that'd be kind of cool, and so I'd like to start doing that. And so if you have a logo, I have a few of you guys out there, but if you have something, or you want to come up with something, do that. It'll make it really cool, and send those in to me. Again, you can message those to me through Facebook or through the email, d64racing@gmail.com, and you can send them that way. And then I'll probably use them in the software a little bit. Probably on this program, we'll try to throw those logos up there a little bit, and on the website, we do the standings and a few other places like that. Now, if you don't have a logo, or you don't want to come up with one, or you don't feel like you can do that, that's cool. I'll probably just get some sort of standard default logo, basically with your name on it. But we'll use that instead. So it's not a big deal. But if you have something, or you want to come up with something, have a little fun with it. Show off your team name and your personality a little bit in that logo, then for sure do that. I'll try to be getting those, probably start using them a little bit next month, and hopefully it'll grow from there, and we'll see how that goes. But it might make things a little bit fun, a little more interesting. So get those logos sent in if you have them. Hey, so some of you that have been racing with us for a while know about the scale miles per hour that we talk about quite a bit. And some of you that are new or haven't raced with us yet might be wondering a little bit what that is. So if you've watched any of the races, you'll know that on the results, as they show up in individual heats, it will report the place of the car, and then the time, and then the scale miles per hour. And that's the one I really like to look at. I don't even know what the times are for these cars. It goes out several decimal places. It's hard for me to remember and compare times, especially when it's only 10,000th of a difference. But the miles per hour is an easy way to talk about the speed of cars. And so you'll hear on the race report here, in discussions on the Facebook page and things like that, you'll hear us talk about miles per hour. This one raced 410 miles per hour this month, or I got a 406, or whatever. And so I thought maybe I'd just talk to you a little bit about that, get you familiar with that. So on this track with this particular setup, we're seeing about 400 miles per hour ish times. So if you can get over 400, you're starting to get in the mix a little bit. 410, you've got some pretty fast cars. If you're getting over 410, you're going to be up there in the tops of the heats, and so that kind of gives you an idea. And when it comes to miles per hour, about 4 miles per hour is about one car length. Again, on this particular track with this particular setup, and so you can kind of judge, I guess, as you see results and you start looking. One car length, about 4 miles per hour. Actually got a little clip here, or at least a still shot from one of the races this month. And you can kind of see here that the winning car out in front there, and then the second place car is about a car length behind. And then you can see in the results there that was about 4 miles per hour. The third place car is really close to that second place car. In fact, with the angle that this picture is taken at, it might even be hard to tell, but there's about 1 mile per hour difference there, and that shows that, like I say, those are really close. And then you can see that fourth place car again is about a car length behind that second place car, and so again about another 4 miles per hour. So, anyways, that gives you an idea as you're looking at results. And again, I never look at the times. I'm always looking at the miles per hour, and so that gives you an idea as you look at those miles per hour about how far other cars are beaten. Again, that 4 mile per hour thing, if you cut that in half, about 2 miles per hour is about half a car length. So anyways, that gives you an idea. We'll be talking about some miles per hour today, probably, and so hopefully that'll help make a little more sense of that talk. So our open stock races this month were pretty cool, pretty competitive. We had a few cars from that were up there in the finals last month get back to the finals. We had the stock car here from ND Racing, Nick Devers, and had a couple of 9.81 cars. This guy we saw last month, and then G-Force had his Ford Fairmont in the mix. And those guys were the ones that made the finals. It was interesting. This Fairmont here just squeaked in. Had a couple of really good runs and a couple of not quite as good runs, which is kind of the case for these gold hot ones sometimes. They have potential to be super fast. We talked a little bit about the Fairmonts last month, but their consistency can be troublesome sometimes. In fact, Red Pill Racing had his Ford Fairmont in the mix this month and just barely missed the finals. He had 2 really good races this month, and then a couple of races that were where the car just didn't run quite as well, and that's kind of the case. I think with these hot ones, the axles are actually a little bit thinner, and supposedly that makes them faster. But I think what it does is it gives them a little bit of suspension almost, right? These thinner axles. And if they just hit any kind of inconsistency on the track, or maybe the axle turns a little bit and it's just a little bit different, they can really get out of control. They start wobbling pretty good, especially on this track with the continuous track, the speeds that these cars get for the height that it is. It's pretty quick. And so anyways, it's always a gamble with the hot ones, and particularly these Fairmonts seem to have sometimes really good races and sometimes really not. So it's always kind of fun to see if they can put together 4 good races to make it into the finals. Anyways, we were wondering, would the consistency of some of these other cars win out, or would the Fairmont make it to the top? And it did. It turned out that this Fairmont won this month. Its finals run was a lot better than its qualifying runs, and put together some consistent runs in the finals, and ended up on top. So I remember kind of new this year, we're taking each monthly winner and putting it up on the shelf, holding it till the end of the season. We'll have a big car of the year race in each of the classes, and so we won't be seeing this guy for, well, clear till the end of the year. He won't be in any of the monthly races anymore. So we'll get him not necessarily retired, but just out to pasture for a little bit. So it'll be exciting to see next month if we see one of these guys up on the top shelf, or maybe Red Pills Fairmont can get together 4 consistent runs and take the top spot. You never know. Maybe you'll send in something that can smoke all these guys and be the top spot. It'll be fun to see. So looking forward to stock next month. And this is cool. I get excited about this because I really like this new rule about taking the monthly winners and not letting them race for the rest of the year, and seeing kind of how things change. And it's going to be hard to stay on top. It's gonna shake the standings up, I think, quite a bit as well, to consistently be finding new speed as your top car wins and gets set aside for a little bit. So anyways, stock super fun this month. Hot off the shelf. I am loving this race. So this has made my collecting so much funner. Now I'm out there again buying cars off the shelf, and I gotta say, this month, holy smokes, we had some pretty fast cars last month. But just to give you an idea, I was testing cars. That first month, I didn't have a lot of time. I was kind of getting races set up. I was doing some things, and I had some cars that I thought were pretty fast. I threw them in the hot off the shelf race. We did okay, but not great. So, but this up through the February races, I was testing cars, and I thought I had some pretty fast stuff. I had some cars that I felt like would compete with the winners from the previous month. And so those cars were running around, I think the winner last month was a 401 something, ran a 401 miles per hour, scale mile per hour. And so I thought I was going to be doing great. And holy smokes, this month, I'll just throw this out there. The winner was running 405s, 406s, right? Compared to the 401s from last month. 406s is awesome. And it came down to the car. Well, we had a couple of pretty consistent, some guys that have raced with us for a while. JAC Racing and Voxer Racing was in the mix. Sea Dog was there, and I had great. You see a couple of zoom-ins. We got the Evo that we saw a little bit of last month, and of course one of these Jags took it last month. This Jag from Voxer Racing again this month. He won it with a Jaguar last month, but it did turn out to be the zoom in from JAC Racing, and this guy was flying. But really, all these cars in the finals, so again, so much faster. And what's really cool about this is that that kind of speed is out there on the shelves right now. I mean, if you're running 406 stock, these are pretty light. They don't have any weight added or anything. You polish these axles and put some weight in them, and you've got a super competitive modified car, right? And that's cool that there's that stuff out there right now. It seems like a lot of times we're throwing faster than ever wheels on. We're grabbing older stuff, and I don't know. It feels like, and I gotta say that that kind of speed is a little bit harder to find. But man, it's out there. It's out there on the shelf right now, and that's super exciting for me. So, anyways, we'll put this guy again, put him up on the shelf, and let him wait for the end of the year, and we'll have the hot off the shelf car of the year race at the end, and we'll see how they all compete. But right now, compared to last month's winners, in fact, all of these guys are looking good. So you got to find that speed. Go out there, open some cars, race them, and send in your fastest, and we'll see how they compete next month. We'll see if any of these guys end up back on the podium, or maybe you got something out there that's even faster. Hey, all right, it's time for It's a Draw. Here on the Race Report, going to do a little drawing each month, give away some cars or something. And this month, nothing too special, but got a little 9-car gift pack here, and a zoom in, which obviously we know, great platform for modifying, and this particular guy also qualifies for the hot off the shelf race, so I don't know, maybe that'll be our next champion, you never know. And then a governor, also a great car for modding. And so anyways, we're gonna give this to one of the racers that sent in cars this month. So I've got names in here, team names, and we'll pull out one of them and give some cars away. So looks like this month's winner is Weber Racing. You got some cars coming your way. Congratulations. I hope you keep racing with us. And like I say, maybe we got a couple winners here. You never know. And who knows what you might pull out in here. Definitely some cool cars. Mod those up and send those in. Have some fun with them. Anyways, thanks for racing with us. Weber Racing, cars coming your way. Hey, this month in our open modified class, we saw some speed. Holy smokes. These are the 4 cars that qualified for the finals. We had a pair of cars from Voxer Racing. We had a car from G-Force Racing, and then a car from 9.81 Racing. But really, it came down, Voxer Racing came to race this month. Sent in some really fast cars. And this little baby, in one of its heats, ran a 4:17. It was amazing. Anyways, this guy went on to win, of course. Again, it wasn't really even close. And I don't know. That was a feat of engineering right there. But that 4:17, so fast, so fast. Like I say, talked about at the opening of the program. If you're running 4:10, above 4:10, you're running pretty fast. And 4:17 is just crazy fast. Anyways, congratulations to Voxer Racing. Keep those modified cars coming. The open mod class is kind of fun. Like I say, it's open. You can make these things look like whatever you want. Try all your new stuff. Try all your experimental stuff. This is hopefully a class where you can kind of test some things out, try some things out, and find what works, find what's fast, race against some of the fastest cars in the country. Literally, like I say, I dare you to find something that's much faster than that. Any of these cars, I'd put them up against any cars around the country. You're going to find some of the fastest modified cars running here at D64. And we've got a lot of guys that have been racing for a while, racing with us, and some of the best racers for sure. Definitely the best modifiers. And so again, in this open mod class, this is where you're going to see some of your fastest times, because guys are paying attention to aerodynamics, they're polishing axles, they're extending bodies, they're just, it's crazy, some of the fun stuff that we see in this class. So you want to see where you're at, your modifying skills, and want to race against the best, this is where you need to be. Open modified D64, it doesn't get much faster than that. Okay, so I can't decide. I can't decide if hot off the shelf or our modified street class is my favorite. I'm loving this class too. It's just, like I say, it's kind of the racing class for the car guys. So it's production cars that you might see out on the street. We did add, last month we kind of talked about adding some concept cars, as long as they had a manufacturer associated with it, a real manufacturer associated with it. But these are cars that look like cars. It's great. A little different than our open modified class. We're not seeing quite the same speeds as we are in the open modified class. Again, you got to go with the profile of the car. So there's no real, aerodynamic adjustments or things like that you can make. But anyways, this class was super competitive this month. Of course, Voxer Racing, like I mentioned, he came to race. Open modified and then modified street. He kind of ran away with both of them. So he had 2 cars in the finals. We got this Red Pill Racing car, made it an MDG Racing. Super cool truck there with the 50th anniversary wheels. Turned out to be that's a really good wheel to modify cars with. Like I say, Voxer ended up taking this race with his Cadillac, and second car was not far behind. And really, neither of those 2 cars were in doubt. But after that, third through 13th place actually ran in the qualifying rounds. Ran within 1/100th of a second of each other. 10 cars all packed in within 1/100th of a second, and that turns out to be about 1 mile per hour. So we had a whole bunch of 408s and a couple 409s there from 3rd to 13th place. That's awesome. That competitiveness is it's fun to watch. It's fun to race these cars, and keep them coming. Keep modifying these cars. Do your best. And if you're finishing out of the top 10, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like I say, 3 through 13 ran so close together. So if you were just another 100th of a second behind that, which is not far at all, another mile per hour or so. But yeah, you finished clear out into 14th, 15th, 16th place. And like I say, at this point, there's no shame in that. If you're cracking the top 10 in this class, that's awesome. And some of that depends on maybe a little luck. Remember, these cars got to put together 4 good runs, and just one little bad bump or nick or bounce around or who knows what can bump you out of the top 10 when they're all running that close. So anyways, this class is fun. It's new this year. We're just trying some things. So if you have suggestions or ideas, again, we're kind of going through a little bit of a growing period here, learning curve as to how we want to formulate these rules exactly. But hopefully this will continue to be a fun class for a long time. I think it's going to be great, and I'm excited about it, and I hope you stay excited about this class. Modified Street, it's going to be one to race in for a long time. It's going to be a fun one. Hey, so in our closer look segment this month, we're going to take a look at a car sent in by Marty Franz, and he has a couple of race teams. He's got his regular race team, Ohio FTE Marty, but he's got a second team called Beater Car Racing, which I love. So I gotta bring you in close and take a look at this car. But if you look at this car, you'll see kind of an old red line custom Cougar. The thing is, hey, look at this baby. Hood smashed, old chip paint. You know this guy has seen some wear, been played with a lot, probably smashed by a hammer or something by some kid way back in the day. And anyways, it's probably got stories to tell. But I love that Marty's brought this car back to life and given it a second chance. He's put some FTEs on there, faster than ever wheels, and turned it into a race car. And so, anyways, I love what he's doing with his Beater Car Racing team, and I hope we'll see lots of other fun stuff. I know that he's sent in some old childhood cars that he's resurrected. I think he had a '57 Chevy running this month, and let's see, probably modified street, I think. And like I say, old childhood cars and cars that you just find. So wanted to give you a closer look at this guy. I love it. I love what he's doing here. All right, our feature race of the month this month was the Hazzard County Dragonfly. Of course, inspired by the Dukes of Hazzard and all their jumping of the General Lee. And I gotta say, I don't know, this race was there was a point where this race was almost not going to happen. Last year, I was a little disappointed. I was a little frustrated with this race. I had built a pretty cool track, I thought. I had kind of constructed this old rickety looking bridge jump, and it was cool looking, but I felt like it just really didn't function very well. I had a lot of cars not finishing, and I guess if one car or the other car doesn't finish, that's fine, but it was like both cars weren't finishing, and I had to shoot so many heats, so many rounds to get a car to win twice in a row. It was just, I don't know, and it was kind of luck of the draw. There wasn't a lot of, I didn't feel like there was a lot of consistency with the track. Car would jump and run really well in one round, and then the next round it wouldn't land once. And I don't know, I was really frustrated with it. I thought, you know what, I'm done with this race. I'm not going to do this race anymore. But I love it, and it is fun. And so after last year's race, I spent some time with the track. I thought, you know what, I'm going to kind of redo a good portion of this. And so I worked on it a little bit last year, and I felt like I was starting to get some pretty good results. Tweaked a couple more things. Took the track to actually to a scout activity that I was doing with some boys, and we had a little tournament on the new and improved Dukes of Hazzard track, and it actually worked out pretty well. I think probably 95% of the cars landed and ran out their run, and I thought, okay, I think maybe I'm on to something. I think this is going to be a little bit better. So anyways, I packed the track away and decided, as I was planning out this year, that we'd give it another shot, and I'm really excited. I think the track performed really well this year. Like I say, I really didn't test it. I got it out right before the race and got it all set up, and we jumped some cars on it. And I didn't really have time this month to do much tweaking or anything like that. So everything that was done, like I say, last year right after the race, and I kept my fingers crossed. But I thought the cars jumped really well. We did have a few cars that didn't land all the time, but I felt like the cars that were jumping well were consistent throughout the whole race. The landing was much smoother. And we had a lot more racing, a lot more two cars racing to the end. So it was great. I loved it, and we did have some pretty fast cars and some pretty consistent cars. Like I say, we had 9.81 Racing and G-Force Racing made it to the end with their zoom-in modified Dukes of Hazzard inspired cars, and then we had a couple of cars from Red Pill Racing, and I don't know, I gotta show you this one. We'll maybe bring you in close and let you look at this guy. This one is awesome. He's got these great big red wheels on it, and the thing that's really cool about this car is that it'll run this way or upside down. And so I thought that was great engineering, great forward thinking by Red Pill Racing to design a car that, especially on the jump track where you got some crashes, we did have a few cars end up on the roofs, and if this guy ended up on his roof, well, no worries, he's still gonna run right through. And so, but the car is actually designed really well, and it never did flip, never needed to run upside down, but it could have. But really consistent runs by this car, and of course made it to the top four. In this particular race, we did a bracket, a head-to-head bracket, which is a little different than the way we normally run our races. But a lot of times in our feature race, depending on what the race is, we'll do a bracket style race. And so again, we got these cars to the final four, and it turned out in the final four, most of the jumps were pretty good jumps, and really what it came down to was speed, which is really cool because, like I say, I felt like last year, in fact, our fastest cars were not the cars that won last year or even made it very far. It seemed like, if I remember right, it was a pretty light stock car that won last year. We saw several actually entries of the same car this year, but it did turn out that because of the smooth landing and the good jumping, that those cars that were fast raced to the end and won. and that's what happened in the end. I really thought this red pill car was gonna probably be the one, but it turned out there was just a little bit more speed in 9.81 Racing's Dukes of Hazzard inspired car, and it was able to race out to the end and win that race. Some fun stuff. So I think the Dukes of Hazzard jump race is going to be around for a little bit longer. I'm going to have a little bit more fun with the track. Like I said, I think performance-wise, it's way better than it was, and maybe I can add a little bit more of that cosmetic stuff that I had in the original track back, and get it looking a little more fun, a little more Dukes of Hazzard-y. But performance-wise, super happy. A lot of fun, and again, in the feature race changes each month, and so we won't necessarily keep the feature race cars for a car of the year race at the end, because different weights in all the different feature races, and some different things happen like that. So these guys, I guess they'll wait for next year, and the Dukes of Hazzard track will be back for sure. All right, well, with races in our 5 classes in the books, it's time to take a look at the standings and see how everything shook out this month. All right, well, if you remember, each month we give a Racer of the Month award, a little trophy, and this is given to the racer that scores the most points across all categories, all the classes. And so we see how many points they scored in each class, and then total that up, and then the person with the most is our Racer of the Month. So, and it's not just, remember, for the standings, it's only your top car that scores points towards your standing, but in the Racer of the Month totals, what we do is we look at both cars, and if both cars finished in the top 10, then they're going to score points for your Racer of the Month total. And so, without further ado, let's take a look at those. Let's take a look at those numbers and see who ended up on top. Hey, so we got a fun race coming up next month. Our feature race is haulers and hot rods, and so you're going to build a team. They're going to compete as a team, score points as a team. But here's the catch: when you build your hauler and your hot rod, the combined weight of the two has to be 100 grams or less. And so, but you get to decide how to break that up. And so you may go really heavy and really light, or you may go half and half. I don't know. You get to decide on that, but they're all racing together. So if you go really heavy and really light, that really light car has to race against some really heavy cars. But maybe a first place and a 10th place win will be better than a 7th and an 8th place win. I don't know. So you decide how you want to break those up. But that's the race for next month. And it should be pretty fun. We're also racing our other 4 classes. So we'll have open modified, open stock, and modified street, and hot off the shelf. So all 5 classes racing next month. And I hope you'll send in some cars. You can check out the website www.racehotwheels.com and find a little bit more information about the rules and everything that you need to do to get cars ready and send them in, and where to send them and how to ship them and all that fun stuff. Check out on the website. There's also a few tutorials on the website, how to modify cars, if you want to get into modding cars, and if you've just been sitting on the sidelines and you haven't been racing with us, what's that all about? Get some cars sent in, race with us. Even if it's just run down to Walmart and get a couple of cars off the shelf and send them into the hot off the shelf race. Find something, get involved. It's lots of fun. It's a great sport to do individually or do as a family. Get involved. Hopefully, if you're sending in cars, you're having a lot of fun. I am having a ton of fun racing your cars. So keep sending them in. We're gonna keep racing them, and hopefully, as we continue to grow and get more racers, the competition will get even better. And this is gonna be the place to race. It's a lot of fun, and we have a lot of great racers. And this is a great community. It's a great community to be involved in. You'll find that it's super helpful, and the guys that have been racing for a while love to share the knowledge that they have. And so check them out. Check out their YouTube pages or YouTube channels and websites, and there's a lot of information out there. But get involved. It's super fun. Anyways, that's it for the race report this month. We've got just a few more weeks. We got a pretty quick turnaround this month, and you'll be back at it, back here on the racetrack in March. And until then, I'll see you in lane 2.